Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome to Side Hustle Ideas. I am Bill, the company's expert, and this is the weekly live stream, or sort of weekly. It's been interrupted recently, but it's a weekly live stream where we talk about what it says, side hustles, but anything to do with entrepreneurship. So if you're somebody who wants to add another income stream onto what you're doing right now, or you want to start up your own business or anything like that, this is the place to be. All things entrepreneurship. That's what we're talking about. And if you are seeing me right now, hopefully you will see a chat box somewhere in the vicinity of my face. And if you have any questions about entrepreneurship, side hustles, revenue streams, all that kind of stuff, if you're struggling with something or you have questions about any of that process, get in the chat. Let me know. I'm here to help you out and to answer questions if I can. While we are waiting for any questions to come in, I have an announcement, and that is that after hearing me talk about it for weeks and weeks, finally my course, Write Like a Professional, is up. So that is here. And I'm going to see if I can just show you a screenshot here. This is what it looks like. Okay. This is the URL, and there's a link to the website in the description box below this live stream, so you can see the link there. But this is the course. And as I was talking about last time, there is a special, I don't know what you call it. I've never done this before, so I lack the terminology, but a premium, a discount for early adopters, because throughout the course of this month, I'm going to be adding to the course. All the videos and all the resources aren't fully there yet, but they will be by the end of the month. So if you register and buy the course before the end of the month, before December 1st, you get 25% off. So it's $75 instead of $100. So if that's something you're interested in, go there and check it out. Yeah, and I just got this website up like less than 2 hours ago. So hopefully it's all working. At the moment, I believe you can only pay with PayPal, but I'll be adding other things, other methods of payment and other stuff as we go. So there you go. Basically, if you're looking to tack on some exceptional executive level writing skills, this is the course to take. And I was talking about it in the past. And I'm going to continue to talk about it for a few minutes while we're waiting for questions to come in about side hustles and entrepreneurship. But the Write Like a Professional course, it takes you through three different areas. One is kind of low-level areas of writing, spelling, grammar, punctuation, phrasing, that kind of thing. It takes you through the intermediate area where you learn how to properly and clearly take your ideas and express them into clear, easily readable sentences that are grammatically correct and very clear and very easy to read. And the third level is kind of the high level. It's more of the strategic side to writing, where it gets into things like if you're making a request, what do you say? What don't you say? Things like this to get the desired result. What is going to be the reader's reaction to what you're writing? And knowing this, how should you tailor what you say to get the desired result? So it takes you through all that kind of stuff, high level stuff, low level stuff, mid level stuff, and it all combines together to give you exceptional written communication skills. If you are somebody who wants to climb the corporate ladder and you have ambitions to become an executive manager or anything at the high level, usually the thing that you really need to tack on are communication skills. That's one of the things that need to be there, which you may or may not have, depending on what level you're at. And this course will certainly help you with the written communication side of it, so that you signal only good things, you don't signal bad things. And that's what it's all about. So hopefully, if that appeals to you, check out the course. There's a link in the description. It's finally up. And actually, the first couple of people there, if you do buy the course, let me know how it goes. Let me know if everything works properly, because I haven't even tested it yet. Don't worry, if there are any issues, I'll take care of them pretty quickly. But yeah, as I say, it's only been up for about an hour or two. So there you go. So that's that. We are here to talk about entrepreneurship. And I'm just going to start talking. You guys can jump in if you have any questions. Something that I don't talk about too often on this particular live stream, Side Hustle Ideas, is the financial side of starting up a business or a side hustle. I feel that a lot of people talk about that disproportionately to how important it is. Because something that I always recommend is that if you're going to do this, contrary to maybe, kind of the default thinking on this, is I recommend that you don't spend a lot of money to start up any kind of business venture in the beginning, especially if this is your first time out, if this is something that you've never really done before. I highly recommend that you do not spend significant amounts of money to do it. You find something that's possible for you to do that doesn't require tons of capital to be able to get off the ground. And this comes from a lot of experience where I'm coming from in saying this. I've mentored startup founders for many, many years. I've been an entrepreneur myself, and I've kind of seen the inside of the industry, the sort of financial services industry, where people are giving out grants to startups, giving out loans to startups, and a little bit of the equity market, like angel investors and things like that, a little bit of that when it comes to financing startups. And I can tell you that, a lot of people think of this and that's what they all want to know about, but it's really a sideshow. It's very dangerous to play with large amounts of money if this is your first or second time out. But we can talk about that. Basically, if you have never taken a course in finance or anything like that, there's basically only two sources of income at the end of the day. One is debt and the other one is equity. Equity means ownership, if you weren't aware of that. And that means that, somebody who is helping you financially takes an ownership stake in the business. So that means that they own part of it. So that means two things, basically. It means that, number one, they have say in any kind of decision you would make. And number two, they take a cut of any profits you make, or indeed any revenue. They have a say in where that goes. So as you can probably imagine, that's a double-edged sword, right? As soon as you get a partner in it and some kind of business partner, it complicates things immensely. And if you don't really know this person too well, it can lead to a ton of issues. Secondly, if you're going that route, it's a very long slog, usually, to find such an investor. And that's like a whole, how can I put it? Almost like what I normally talk about, which is how to find jobs, how to do a job search campaign. You've got to learn about as much things to get a job as you have to do to find an investor. It is an entirely different thing that you got to get into. And it's its own industry with all its quirks, and a lot of it is hidden. It's not public knowledge. It's not easily discoverable. You have to network to really learn a lot of, who are the players in that world that might be around you, and how do you approach them, and what do you say, all that kind of stuff. It's this whole other world. So if you're prepared to get into that, that's fine. If you're going to make this a multi-year sort of mission, it's certainly possible. But for people that are just sort of in this and they just want to get something started, they're not really too interested in learning all of that, I'd highly recommend you go a different route. How do you say this? Slaouison? Is that a French word? Says, good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Thank you for being here. There are 8 people here. Thank you for being here so early in the morning. If you have any questions or you'd like me to talk about a specific thing, get in the chat and let me know. And then, of course, the other source of financing, where to get money from if you are trying to start any kind of business venture, is debt financing. This is going to be far more common for most people, okay? And basically, it's a loan, okay? And recently, like in the last 10 years or so, a lot of the big banks, a lot of financial institutions and financial services companies have gotten into this space where they specifically court entrepreneurs and provide you a loan to start a startup. In the past, you didn't really have a lot of that. You could get a loan, but it had to be secured against some kind of collateral. So if you're using the money to buy equipment or something, it had to be secured against the equipment, and that's how they did it. Recently, like in the last 10 years, they've created some custom products where they'll give you a loan, but their guarantee is that they make you personally guarantee you're going to pay back the loan. So even if the business venture flops and it doesn't go anywhere and you don't make any money, they still require that you pay back the loan out of your personal funds. So, I find it very kind of slimy. I really do. I don't recommend anyone doing that because, it's like they don't care if you win or lose. They know either way they're going to get their money back. So, you know what I mean? And if you were to fail in your business venture, let's say, you try an idea and it doesn't work out, right? Normally that wouldn't be the end of the world. But in this case, now you're on the hook for like some kind of loan that you have to pay back. So it sinks your future endeavors, right? Because you can't start another business after this one because you're too busy having to pay back loans and things. So I highly recommend that people don't jump to that kind of thing. I've seen a lot of people screwed over by those kinds of arrangements. And so I highly recommend that people don't go that route. And you don't need to go that route. That's the beautiful thing. There's so many easier, cheaper ways of doing it. Torshia, if I'm saying that right, Torshia says, good morning from Trinidad and Tobago. Right on, Trinidad and Tobago. I had a friend who had a shirt that said Trinidad and Tobago, the two little islands there. That's awesome. And my good friend Slawizon says, Atlanta, Georgia here. Well, hello, Atlanta. Thank you for joining me from there. My wife is actually from very near there. So right on. Yes. So that's definitely a side to it. The trick for a lot of people is going to be starting something that you don't need tons of money to get off the ground. That's, after all, what a lot of small, very small businesses are for. That's the role they play. Big businesses exist to solve big problems, things that need lots of equipment, lots of people, lots of work, right? Very complex things. We have big businesses for that. That's what they're there for. Small problems that can be solved by, a two-man operation, a two-person operation. You don't need big business to do that for you. That's where people like you and me, or sole proprietorships, like just one-person operations, can come in. They can solve a problem, they can do it themselves, and they can clean up, So you really don't need tons and tons of money to start up a startup, or a side hustle or whatever you're trying to do, if you're picking the right challenge, right? That's the idea. Pick something doable, something you can do that doesn't take your entire life savings, and even then it's not enough. You know what I mean? Doesn't get you into a ton of hot water if you should fail. It's something that if you do fail, it's no big deal. You pick yourself up, you dust yourself off, and then you try again. That's the best kind of business. Kaya says, hello from Canada, Saskatchewan, Moose Jaw. I did an entire video where I was talking about Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, and I've never actually been. I might have been through there a couple of times, but I've never actually been to stay. But it's the name. It's the name. Everyone remembers the name. Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. It's like Shoestrap, Alaska or something. It just sticks in your mind. So thank you for being here. Yeah. This is the thing. We got to pick the right challenges, things that have a good chance of success. And you manage the risk by not requiring tons of capital to be pumped into something. And if it fails, poof, it's all gone, right? Now, I would like to show you an example of something that I saw yesterday that I thought was really cool, okay? We're talking about ideas, right? Now, something that I've had a hobby for many years is playing guitar. And I play electric guitar just kind of as a hobby. And the best amplifiers for electric guitar, they still use vacuum tubes. I have a degree in electrical engineering, so I'm kind of interested in the technology. Vacuum tubes were invented like in the 1880s, I believe, somewhere around there. It was like, as soon as they invented it, it was like the birth of electronics, right? So it allowed things like telephones and stuff like that, and the earliest radios, right? So they phased out vacuum tubes in pretty much every use they were ever employed in. It's dead technology. It's like a VCR. You know, people may have heard of them. You maybe even have seen one, but practically nobody uses a VCR anymore. I mean, I have one, but we're going to forget about that for a second. And so vacuum tubes are kind of the same way. They've been replaced with transistors and a whole bunch of newer stuff. So no one uses them except for in a couple of very specialized industry. And one of those industries is guitar amplifiers. And with all the recent kerfuffle going on in Russia and Ukraine and all this kind of stuff, and some of the economic sanctions and weirdness that's going on around that, I was told there was only 3 manufacturing plants left in the world that produced vacuum tubes. That's what I was told. I don't know how true that is, but allegedly, supposedly, one of those manufacturing plants was in Russia. And so, you know, most places outside Russia now no longer have access to buying the vacuum tubes from the Russian plant. So that's made vacuum tubes very scarce. And so as a result, you know, vacuum tube, the prices have soared tremendously for things like guitar amplifiers, where they still use them. And if you go on YouTube, you look up vacuum tubes, you can find people that can build their own vacuum tubes in their garage. I thought it's absolutely amazing. And there is one video in particular, there's a link to it in the description. I put it in there before I started the live stream. That's this video right here, building a 1920s tube amplifier. YouTube has to show me a bunch of ads, obviously. So, you know, there's just no getting away from it. But this is basically a video of somebody building vacuum tubes in their garage, just like the way you would build a birdhouse or a mailbox or something. And I recommend you go check it out or just skim it. Like, this is a vacuum tube. And it's amazing. And this would be the type of thing that if you were wanting to start a business on the side, or you're wanting to do a side hustle, this would be a candidate. It's a type of thing that you can do yourself. You know, if you have some tools, if you have some equipment, you have some knowledge, you know, you can do this. And there's a demand for it in some circles, right? And I can't help wondering, as I watch this video, if this person was serious and they standardized what they were doing, they created some molds, some templates, some jigs, and standardized kind of what they were doing, I'm sure they'd be capable of replicating some of the common vacuum tube models and then selling their products as replacements for the common models of vacuum tube. I think that would be technically possible if they really put their mind to it. So this is a great example of a startup you can do. So I'm just going to call you Slawizon because I don't know how to say your name, but that's just, I mean, I'm Canadian, so aren't we all supposed to be bilingual? So like, I always think of the French pronunciation of that. So could you touch on financing after Chapter 7 to get into a real estate biz? Okay, Chapter 7, that's an American thing, correct? See, I'm in Canada. We don't have the same laws because it's a different country. So their Corporations Act in the States is different, and their bankruptcy law is different. You've got different, I know you got different chapters. You got Chapter 7, Chapter 11, you got Chapter 14. Is that there's different situations in which a corporation can enter receivership. And I know that Chapter 7, is that is that liquidation? Is Chapter 7 liquidation? As I say, I'm not familiar with the laws of other countries, so you'll have to. Yes, hopefully that's an answer to the question I just asked. Okay, so could you touch on financing after Chapter 7 to get into a real estate biz? Okay, well, that's going to depend on your, like the corporate structure and your involvement with the company that went into Chapter 7 bankruptcy, okay? For example, if you were a director of that company, you were like, it was an incorporated business and you were named as, and you were named as a director. Oh, you say no total forgiveness. Okay. Okay. So they forgave all the debts. Is that what Chapter 7 is? Okay. I didn't know that. I thought Chapter 7 might've been liquidation, but it's Chapter 11. That's where they, step in and the judge sort of plays an active role in determining, the hierarchy of the debts and, all this kind of stuff and restructuring. Okay, so Chapter 7 is total forgiveness. Okay. Well, if it's total forgiveness, like the same thing applies. If you were a named director of that company, that's one thing. If you were not a named director, that's something else. Okay. So if you're not a named director, keep in mind that A, I'm not a lawyer, and B, I'm talking about the laws in another country, so I could not be pinpoint accurate on this. But it shouldn't, I don't believe that would affect you in any direct way. Okay. Because all your personal finances and stuff like that are all shielded from any involvement in the organization. If you are a named director, depending on, I don't know how it works in the States, depending on how if they go into that in the bankruptcy court, it may affect your future credit standing and all this kind of stuff. Okay. Because that will be one consequence if you are a named director and you run a company into bankruptcy and it has to go to court. So, the best thing to do would be, depending on what region you are in of the US, like what state, I guess, maybe like a half an hour phone call to a corporate lawyer, like a contract lawyer, something like that deals with bankruptcy. Or maybe you could find out more at the local branch of the government, whatever you call it, that deals with, the bankruptcy court, and receivership. Maybe there's a website. I would look for the website too, like look up receivership in your state, and you might be able to get some answers directly from there. It might be as simple as calling the sort of 1-800 number, the toll-free number that they have on their website that deals with that particular branch of the local government. As I'm not in the country, I don't know even what level of government deals with that, but it shouldn't be too hard to get an answer on that. Certainly more than I can give you, because I don't know the particulars of the American law about that. And I'm sure it's one of those things that changes in every state, if I'm not mistaken. Just like they have their own labor laws in different states, you'll probably, I would be surprised if you didn't have slightly different receivership laws in every state too. Okay, so that would be the best thing to do. But as I said, if you are not a named director on the Articles of Incorporation and that hasn't been updated, I don't think that would affect you. You would be almost like an employee and it wouldn't affect you there. It wouldn't affect your future credit history, anything like that. So getting financing, now getting financing could involve many different activities. If you're getting debt financing from a lender, then things like your credit history would matter. If you're trying to get equity investors, like a angel investor, or I don't know if you're at the VC level or anything, but then that may not be as important, right? They can still want to work with you despite whatever history you have. Okay, so you know what I mean? Like people can be free to work with you if they want to. There's nothing that precludes them from doing that. So, okay, so this would only apply to debt financing, probably with, like, what do you call it? regular commercial lenders, mainstream commercial lenders. Hornet Larry says, "Hey, expert, first time catching you live." Well, what took you so long, Hornet? I'm just kidding. Thank you for being here. Hopefully you get something out of this. A few years ago, your videos helped me get into the right mindset to find a job. I ended up getting hired much sooner than I expected. Well, congratulations. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. It's true. It's, a lot of people focus on the financial side. Finances, it's a service. It's incidental. The number one thing in a business is, can you make money? Like if you don't know how to make money, doesn't matter what financing you get or from what source or how much, it won't do you any good. It'll just give you more rope to hang yourself. You know what I mean? This is what people learn. Sometimes I think a fact of life that kind of sucks is that sometimes when we're young, we can't be told, and we think we know it all. And so we go and we have to learn some lessons the hard way. At least certain people do. I've certainly learned some hard lessons in this at different levels. I've learned this stuff at an entrepreneur level. I've learned it at a small business level. I've learned it at a higher business level working in a company where you go ahead, you think you've got it made, you do a project. Oh yeah, this is going to pay off many times over. Bam, it doesn't. You know what I mean? So it's very important to realize that the financing side of it, it may seem to the layman like it's the most important area of this, but it's not. It's not, trust me. If you can get away with not needing to get any money from any external source to start up your thing, do it. Think of it this way. If it flops, you're fine. You start again. You wasted your time. I mean, you might have learned a whole bunch of things. You probably will, but you wasted your time. Big deal. But you can dust yourself off, start again. If you succeed, you get to keep all the money, right? You don't have to share it with any kind of bank or lender or partner, you know what I mean? Who doesn't work nearly as hard as you, but yet skims all your profits away. Think of it like that, So, think small. And I mean this in a good way. Think something you can easily do. You can get off the ground. And as you start to make money really soon with it, you can scale up. That's the secret to doing these things right. Don't be fooled by all the movies they make about the wild exceptions in Silicon Valley. I mean, how often does Apple happen? Right? How often do we start a Microsoft in our garage? Like, that happens very often, right? Like, I'm sure that happened to people in your neighborhood about 5 times this week, right? They started a company the size of Microsoft in their garage, right? Those are wild exceptions, right? Don't be fooled by some of the Hollywood movies that talk about that, or an Intel, right? Or any of these like wild success stories. Those are wild exceptions. What isn't a wild exception is being able to start something that makes you, certainly replaces the income you would get from a job, and can make you a lot more besides. It's something you control. It's something that's your brainchild. And it's like a creative effort in a way, because you created it. You decided what you're going to do at every step. You did it your way. And if you can make your living doing that, and you can even break through a ceiling of maybe a cap of how much money you could have made in a conventional job as an employee, it's all the better. A lot of people think of ideas that are born out of their career as an employee. So if you work in an industry, and you get to know one particular industry from the inside out, and you really know how all the nuts and bolts work, and you see where there's inefficiencies, and you see where there's things that aren't really working, it's not that big of a jump sometimes to basically do that same work, but not as an employee, as an independent business owner, independent contractor or business owner. You provide the services or you sell the product. Except that nobody's skimming off all the value that you're adding. You're keeping it all. And if you can solve some of the problems that maybe are present in that business, you can really clean up. A lot of times there are problems, not because people are stupid and they can't figure out how to solve them, but just because it's a blind spot. They're not really focused on that. They got bigger fish to fry. And they're not really paying attention to some of the inefficiencies that are happening at the ground level, right? But if you can come in and solve those, it makes a huge difference. So yeah, if anyone has any questions about any of this stuff, let me know, because I don't really have much of an agenda for these. So I just kind of talk off the top of my head, as you can probably guess. As you can probably detect. I want to thank all my channel members, all my Patreons, and anyone who's ever given me a super thanks or a super sticker. That's really cool. Yeah, there are 16 of you guys here. Thank you for joining me today. No, it's true. It's the money is something that, like, I used to lecture on this, and I used to go to events, speaking events where you got a lot of young entrepreneurs in the audience, and they're, you get different speakers coming up and talking about various things, some more useful than others. And you would get questions from a lot of the audience members. A lot of times that would be students, they'd be business students or whatever they'd be, or it would be some government organized event that's trying to stimulate the local economy. So it's trying to encourage startup activity. And, you get a lot of questions, and it seemed like 3/4 of the questions I would always get would be about financing. How can I get money? Very unpopular thing to say, but it's like, maybe don't focus on that. A lot of people, when they do get money, it ruins what they do, because they get the money, but then they spend it all. And then most of them, they've spent all their money and they don't have a product or service to show for it. They always underestimate how much money they're going to need to launch a product or a service. And then they're dead. They're dead in the water. And then they've got debts to repay. It's terribly tragic. It's very unfortunate. I would much rather work with the type of entrepreneur that has some skills. They say, I've got these skills. I can, almost like the vacuum tube thing I was showing a moment ago. Somebody that can do something. Here, I can build this. Or I can provide this service. I have the skills to be able to do this for people. And you think, great. All you got to do now is sell that. You just got to tell the world that this is what you can do for them. And you just have to learn how to do that in the right way and go to the right people. Learn some very basic principles of marketing, like how to sell and how to find your target market of would-be customers. That's all you have to do. You know what I mean? There's other people too. There's people that have the opposite problem. They're more extrovert. They're like social butterflies. They know a million people. They love social networking. They recognize how powerful it is to be able to find and connect with people that could be needing your thing that you could do. The problem is they don't have a thing to sell. They're good at the sales thing, but they're bad at the creating a thing to sell part, right? So they have kind of the opposite problem. And I've worked with a lot of those people that think that, okay, it's no big deal. I'll get some money and I will pay some technical type person to create the thing for me, and that I will sell it. That usually does not work very well, because you have to pay so much money to create the thing that you run out of money before it even happens. And then because you don't know anything about the product yourself, you're at the mercy of whoever created it, and they usually want to get paid by the hour and find excuses to have it drag on and on and on. Diamond is here. Diamond says, hi, what type of businesses would you suggest for starting out? I thought about something like affiliate marketing that would require nearly no money to start, but I guess it is quite hard to succeed. Diamond, it depends what your background is, what your skills are, and what your personality is. Because some people can make that work quite easily, but they have all kinds of sales skills. They know the internet customer. They know how to promote something, right? So if you are the type of person that knows all about that and you really enjoy it and you're good at it, or you're the type of person that has ambitions to learn that and become good at it and get to know it really well, then that certainly is a possibility for you. But if you're more of an operations type person, maybe you're an introverted technical type person, more like me, that's the type of person I am. It's probably not your idea of fun. And if that's going to be the main thing you're going to have to work on, that may not appeal to you, right? In a perfect world, it would be really amazing if you could partner with somebody that has the missing pieces that you don't. So if you're a technical type person, you can set up websites, you can create the thing that you're going to sell, or, set up relationships with, affiliates and all this. You can do all the nuts and bolts. Great. And then you leave someone else to know what to do when it comes to selling. Right? You know what I mean? Like, it depends where you're starting from and what your ambitions are. Some people, they might be a technical introvert, but they have ambitions to learn the sales, marketing, networking side of the equation, in which case I would still say go for it. The great thing about the affiliate marketing thing is that you're not really risking much. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't take a lot of money, which is great because, if you try it and it doesn't work, what do you lose? Well, you've wasted your time. But that's about it. You haven't really poured any money into it. But you could also argue with some truth that have you really wasted your time if you've learned a ton of things about it, right? That you then use to channel into your next business idea, maybe 6 months down the road, something like that, right? So it entirely depends on what your goals are. There's no such thing as a good business idea or a bad business idea in absolute terms, really. Like, obviously there are some extreme exceptions, but really it depends on who you are, what your goals are, what your talents are, and what you're interested in doing. Larry Hornet says, I think I'm quite good at what I'm doing and I want to offer consultation at some point, but I feel like I'm a few years of experience away still. People have been reaching out and we're satisfied. Okay, here's what I can say about consultation. I'm a management consultant and that's my main bread and butter. I work with businesses and I do consulting for them on things like quality and growth. And I used to do other types of consulting. When I left my sort of corporate career, I did all kinds of consulting. I didn't know what I want to do. I didn't know what there was a demand for. So I just sort of jumped into everything I could. And I've since scaled it way back into things that, that pay good, but also that I can do and I'm comfortable with. The thing about consulting is that to be a consultant, you need technical skills. Okay. So you need some knowledge and ability for what you're consulting on. But really, the consulting game is about the sales side. Because, after all, there are 14 people here. All 14 people could probably teach me a thing or two about something. Maybe somebody knows how to jet ski. I've never been on a jet ski in my life. Maybe if I wanted to take jet ski lessons, somebody here would be able to teach me. You'd be able to consult. You'd be able to recommend if I want to buy a jet ski, where do I start? You could provide that service. There's going to be something that you will have expertise on that I don't, that I will probably need at some point, right? The reason why everybody is not a consultant is because you've got to then publicize yourself. You've got to promote yourself. You've got to make sure that everybody out there who could be looking for jet ski lessons or advice on what jet ski to buy or how to get into the whole jet skiing world, right? You want to make sure that your name comes up first, right? They are aware of you. You can provide that for them. So you're in all the right places with the exact right message, right? That's what that business is about, right? So it can be a bit deceptive. You think it's all about technical type skills, but really it's about the sales thing. And the other thing is, why should someone take your advice over somebody else's? Why are you better? Why are you more suitable? So you've got to sort of back that up and portray yourself, in a way that people see, oh, okay, I can see this person knows what they're talking about. And they're not some kind of risky bet. They're a forthright person. They're not some kind of con artist, right? So the consulting business is kind of like that. I've been fortunate enough to sidestep a lot of that because the clients that I work with are mostly businesses and things that I knew from my corporate career. So I don't have to publicize myself really because I'm not trying to impress anyone. The people I work with already know me. Now that might not be sustainable for the rest of my life or something, but it's a way to sidestep a lot of the marketing stuff. Jet ski is really fun, by the way. Highly recommended. Yeah, it looks fun. It looks fun. The only problem is that I don't quite have the physique to do a lot of those kind of, I don't know if you call it an extreme sport or something. I mean, if I take a jet ski up over top of a wave, I get about 20 feet of air and then I come down, I'll probably be dead. So, I would have to lose like 200 pounds first and then give it. And by that time, I'd probably be too old. I don't know how many 90-year-old jet ski extremists you see out there. However many it is, it's not enough. And I think we need to change that. But does that make sense? It's like there's two sides to this. There's the operations side and there's the marketing side. Whatever it is that you want to do. And usually people have more skills in one area than the other. So it necessitates learning a bit about the other. Now, that's okay because if you're not really putting money into it and it's kind of an ambition of yours to learn, like to crack this nut and figure this stuff out, so that hopefully now, but certainly later at least, you will have figured it out and you know how to make money directly and you can supplement your income working as an employee. And maybe if you really like it and the business takes off, you can maybe turn it into your main line of work at some point. Nobody starts with knowledge and having good decision-making skills. You have to learn it over, through experience, through trying things and sometimes winning and sometimes losing. And then over time, you learn what to do and what works and what doesn't, and every business is different. Every industry is different. What works in one industry, like the details of what works in one industry, usually doesn't work in another industry, right? If you're selling jet ski lessons, you may not be able to apply the same technique to selling industrial farm equipment. You know what I mean? So whatever it is, find an easy, cheap way of jumping into it and try stuff. And sooner or later, you will figure it out and you will go places. A lot of people give up. They try one thing and they give up before it goes anywhere. And then that's it. They're out. They're out for the rest of their lives. And it's a terrible shame because they could have succeeded if they just sort of stayed in it longer and not burned out on it. Larry says, yeah, I realized there was a huge marketing component to it. That's why I've been hesitating to jump into it and need to prepare for it. Yeah, but it's once again, I mean, it's not rocket science. All you got to do, the conventional wisdom is you start by looking at what other players in the game are doing, okay? And normally, something I talk about often on my channel, or at least semi-regularly, is doing informational interviews. And if you learn how to do informational interviews with players in an industry you're interested in learning about, if you want to learn about consulting for a certain type of thing, get yourself some informational interviews with people in your city or your region that are in that business that either run consulting companies or, they consume consulting services. They hire consultants. Go talk to the boss, set up a meeting, and sit down with these people for like half an hour. Just ask them a bunch of questions, like I'm thinking of doing this. I'm not sure if it's right for me. I have some skills in this area. And I'm just curious, when you guys look for consultants, what's the thinking on that? Or do you always go with people you've worked with, or, how does it work? And then you gradually figure out how that industry works. And once you know how it works, then it's easy to see what you need to do, right? Sometimes there's huge holes or gaps in this system where someone can come in, and like now that you know how they hire and what they look for, it's like you give them exactly that. You go meet them in person at like a industry event or something, and bang, next thing you know, you're in. So sometimes things work like that, but you don't know until you get the information. Yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. So I have to wrap this up soon because I will be back in 15 minutes with my weekly live stream called How to Get Hired, where we talk about how to get hired in a conventional job, but we talk about careers and things too. So yeah, and just a reminder, I have, wrong side, this is finally up. So if you are interested in getting that course at a discount. Oh, and there was also an announcement with that too. Just as a reminder, I said it last week, that if you have bought 2 of my courses, you get the third one for free. So if that's you and you're wanting to do this, drop me an email. Okay. Basically, if you have registered for both of these, okay, then you get this one for free. If you've used the same email address, because I go through the email by the email address, right? So if it's the same email address, and if you go and register for the third one, I will enroll you in it without payment. That's what I've decided I'm going to do. So if you've taken one of those, you've either taken my Get Hired course or my $100 MBA course, and you get this one, then you get the third one for free. So that's something. I've never done those kind of discounts before. This is a holdover from my corporate career. It's worth what it's worth. I don't deal with coupons or any of that stuff. I don't play those games because it's worth what it's worth. And so this is something that's new for me. So this course here is at a 25% discount if you get it right now, basically until December 1st, because it's still being put online and it's still being tweaked. So if you get it now, you get access to it. Not everything is there right now. There's going to be a lot more stuff coming before the end of the month. But if you get it now, your access doesn't expire. So anyway, that's the deal with that. Torshia says, I must admit, I haven't been doing much networking for my new freelance writing business, but I've won some writing contests. Well, congratulations. That's really cool. I have many years of telecom sales experience also. Well, that sounds pretty powerful if you use those skills to promote some kind of business venture. If you have the operational skills to match, to produce something of value, that can be quite potent, actually. It seems like you either have or you're positioned to have the marketing and promotional skills to really get the word out. So that would be good. But yeah, it's all about understanding the industry. And the best way to understand any industry is to start doing informational interviews with the players in it. You will like the process once you start doing it. Once people invite you in, they say, yeah, come on in, let's talk. And you get to ask them all kinds of questions about how it all works, and they give you all this information. If you're really interested in learning that industry, it's like a gold mine. It's really exciting. So And through that knowledge, you will learn like, okay, here's how I can make money in that business. Here's a need, and here's how people think and where they're looking and, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I got to get rolling. Thank you for being here. You guys are awesome. I will be back. Next week, I have the last episode of my leadership live stream, episode 5 of 5. So that's what I'll be doing next Monday. But the Monday after, in 2 weeks from today, I will be back with another episode of Side Hustle Ideas. I hope to see you there. Take care, and I'll see you soon.